All right, everybody, welcome to our latest Live Motocross podcast as we talk all things Tampa with the great man Jeff Beaver from Whiskey Throttle after a crazy fifth round of the series. Before we welcome him, we'd obviously like to thank everyone for listening and supporting the website. We really appreciate it. We'd also like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing at 24MX, Dirt Store, and Fuchs Silkaline for all their incredible support, as without them, none would be possible. All right, Jeff, thanks again for joining us, mate. Another wild weekend of racing in Tampa. Left a little bit of a bad taste in the mouth. Sad to see so many of those guys get injured, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was man, it was insane. I remember when I walked out and looked at the track, I was like, dude, this thing's so tight. And on press day, I was talking to Nick Romano for a minute and I go, man, what do you think of that first turn? And he goes, yeah, I'm going that way. And he goes, wait, it goes right. And I go, yeah, that's the first turn. You should have seen his eyes, how big they got. He goes, whoa. And he goes, man, this track's super tight. I go, yeah, that's a pretty tight track, man. They went hard for the first round of East. And I think the hardest section of that track for people was that left-hand sand turner after the finish line. It collected everybody. Everybody crashed there, dude. It was Chase, Eli, everybody. I watched Eli trying to put in a fast lap during qualifying, and I think Sexton went down, and then Penny Bloss went down, and Bloss took forever. And Eli came around like three times. Like the third time he came around, and there was somebody in there. He's like, you could tell what he was saying. He just looks over and is like yelling, like, take your time or something, just and he twisted the throttle off even harder. And then it wasn't long, maybe two laps later is when he jammed up his legs. So I was like, man, I wonder if he was just heated and frustrated and had just wasn't on his A game and his foot slipped off. I don't know, but I know he's definitely frustrated right before that happened for sure. I mean, I saw it. I got it on film and I was like, dude. And then when I saw that he jammed up his leg, I was like, oh no, dude. His left foot, and he was over with the. He didn't even stop with his team. He stopped with the actual medics from the whatever county that is in Tampa. The Florida medic guy. He stopped and talked to him, and I was like, oh no, 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 we can't have this. So the fact that he came out and rode was phenomenal. But that track was insane. As we know, we lost Pierce, and Eli got wadded up, and
What's up?
Roxon had flashbacks of probably Anaheim getting collected in a rear wheel. I mean, that dude really got lucky that bike didn't weed him. That not the one that hit him, but the one that flew over him could have. Imagine if that peg would have caught him. Yeah, Roxon got really lucky, and as you know, no big fan of the dude, but I never want to see anybody out there get hurt, right? I was glad he got up and walked away, but yeah, the place was just insane. The vibe it was just weird out there. You're just like, man, all I wanted to do was get that race over with, and then we had another red flag in the 450 main, and I'm like, dude, when it was like 6 or 7 minutes to go, I was like, we're almost out of here, man. Let's just get this thing done. And then Mookie did what he did. And so it changed the whole vibe for the night for sure, and the weekend. But it truly was. It was a weird, rough round. That's about the best way I could put it.
Yeah, and obviously we've got to touch on Mookie, but obviously just a little bit of a talk on those lappers while you mentioned Roxon. Obviously they're in their own race as well, but Cooper Webb and Anderson made some pretty interesting comments. Webb especially in the press conference, mate. What do you think of that as well, mate? Obviously, does something need to be done? What's your solution for it? And just a few words for Hunter Lawrence, who also had a nasty one, had a head knock, and Honda's just released a press release. He's going to undergo further evaluation, so he could potentially miss this weekend. So shocking round for him, especially after his brother had the meniscus and ACL tear confirmed, mate. So not a happy night for the Honda boys. But yeah, just your take on the Lappers comments and Hunter as well, mate.
Yeah, I agree with Cooper and those guys. And I mean, who the hell am I? I don't know the first thing about what they're going through, but just I just got done watching the 450 main right before we got on. I haven't even had time to watch it, and right before you could hear the announcers talking about how held up Chase was in traffic, and then the TV cameras got around to Webb and Roxon going through that traffic, and yeah, those guys were not getting out of the way, but I kind of almost feel for them because I think they were holding on for dear life going through that whoop section. Yeah, you take your blue flag and shove it right up your ass. I'm just trying to make it through this section, and so yeah, those guys are right. They should get out of the way, but if they're if the leaders catch them coming through a whoop section, I think, hey, hold your line. If they're going through a routine rhythm, which all those rhythms those guys should be able to do no matter what, they can move over in their line or be paying attention. But if those guys are going so much slower than the leaders and the blue flag comes out when you're in the whoop section where they were, hey, hold your line, and then those guys, when they came around to the second section, I don't know if they were just confused or where the dudes were, but they are not the caliber of rider that Anderson and Tomac and Sexton and Webb are. There's like I said, I think they're kind of holding on for dear life. So I kind of feel for them. It probably feeds a lot into Gypsy's argument, of the lappers and the privateers, but uh, I think you got to make it a judgment call. If the guy clearly is just flagrantly ignoring the blue flag for so many sections, then you nail them. If they miss one blue flag and the next time they come around a blue flag section and they concede and get the hell out of the way, then cool. You know what I mean? But I think it's just kind of got to be a judgment call. But at this time, who polices that, right? Feld doesn't have the people on site there to do it, and I don't think the AMA's got enough people to be the blue flag police. It's just kind of the rules, and do they go back and do a post penalty afterwards? Have somebody review it after the race and hand out penalties? Maybe that's the solution. I don't know, but if the habitual offenders should probably be dealt with, the guys that I don't think we should have a stern rule that says, "Oh, you missed a blue flag, you didn't get out of the way, you lose your purse money or you lose your points or position or whatever because you missed one." I mean, you're gonna violate half the field. You know what I mean? At some point, people in the top 10 are going to be lappers, and so you're gonna penalize the guy in fifth and sixth because he's getting lapped. It's going to happen, and what about when Ricky lapped the entire field that year? I mean, that's an extreme instance, but do you find second and third place for not getting the hell out of their own way? So it sounds good to talk about it, but implementing the process is a whole nother ball of wax, and I'm glad it ain't my effing problem.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. And how many cameras do they have to view every single second of the race to, potentially pull dudes up? And then they mention fines, and, privateers are already probably at a deficit most of the time. So then adding that to it, even though that probably would be a solution that works, hitting people in the hip pocket, it's not really that feasible for these dudes that make the series and put so much into actually going racing. It's crazy what they do to get there, mate. Like the trips to, Glendale to Tampa, that's no mean feat. So it's a really tough one. How do you even start there?
Yeah, I don't know. I would love, just for the privateers kind of thing, I would love to see Feld at some point as they start making more money as the series as a whole starts making more money for the gambling and the TV packages as it gets bigger. I think a rad thing to do is if Feld got two 18 wheelers, and I know that's a couple $1 million investment, but if they had a couple of 18 wheelers that all the privateers loaded up their bikes and their toolboxes, and you say you got the top 30 in points, if they're not on a team that has a truck going to the races, if it's the guys that are like really struggling, maybe even one semi, the guys who are at a certain point was leveling up, that hey, if you want, you can put your truck, your bike, your tools, your wheels, your parts on this truck, and we'll take the bikes to the races for you and handle a lot of that cost. You know what I mean? That I think that would be pretty cool, and that'd probably take a lot of stress off them. Maybe give them more time to, they didn't have to bring a box van. Maybe they could save that money and spend time at home and train and then fly in and hone their skills a little better because they're now not driving the truck across the country to get their stuff there. Their stuff's already there. They get so many square foot on the truck for bikes and tents and whatever, and the other shit figure it out on your own, and there you go, and maybe even Feld puts together like a privateer paddock, you know a truck, and with tents down either side of it and under the truck, and if you're getting so many points, you're underneath the truck, and then the other points guys are in these pop-up tents to the left and the right of the truck, and it's like a system, and the your points determines whether you get a ride to the race. I think that'd be a kind of a sick idea, and I think it would help those guys out, and it would incentivize them to do better, and then they could get more time at home training, and I don't know, I think that'd be kind of a killer idea, uh, but otherwise these guys aren't going to improve. It's going to be the same old situation with the same dudes, and yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, mate, it's sort of an impossible question in many ways, but it's good to hear your thoughts and it's some good insight there for sure, mate. So we'll see if there's any changes implemented or what. But yeah, on to the main man, Mookie. How good was he, mate? Malcolm Stewart getting that first 450 Supercross win, obviously reeled in Chase so impressively, just like the fishing side of things, mate, to throw that in there. But yeah, he's a popular figure. Everyone loves him. So much support and so many, pro racers, fans, everyone congratulating him all over the world on socials. Plenty of Aussie guys know him and they were all spreading the love, mate. And it was really cool that his brother James was in the commentary booth for that one for a special moment. His dad was there and he was fast in qualifying, fast in the heat. And those whoops were just amazing. The speed he had was just nothing short of impressive, mate. So I reckon he would have probably caught Chase without the crash, wouldn't he, mate? So he was just super impressive riding. He was the best on the night, historic night, family, the home fans. Nothing could really beat that night for him, could it?
Yeah, I mean, he caught Chase. They were coming into that bolt turn together. Malcolm said, we were meeting in that corner. Chase just crashed, but how sweet would that have been if they traded punches all the way down to the checkered flag? That would have been sick. They train every day together. They would have raced clean as can be. They're buddies. But hey, I don't give a shit. Malcolm got the win, and I know I heard how loud it was on TV. That might as well have been muted, dude. I've never heard anything that loud. Even when Tomac at Denver, the day he won the title in 22, that wasn't even that loud. And I thought that was the gnarliest thing I'd ever seen when somebody was at a stadium. But no, I mean, it was deafening, dude. You couldn't hear anything but the crowd roar. And when he crossed that finish line, I got the shot of him coming across the finish line, and there was like 10 filmers to my right. So, me being the finesse, fat ass that I am, I ducked down and like go sprinting around because I wanted to get over to where he was sitting on that dune. And I started going face first, dude. I'm like, I'm eating shit. I'm eating shit. And I'm just trying to get my feet in front of me to where I go face first into that A frame along the side of the start. So I hit my face into some padding instead of the ground. And I don't know, by a miracle, I caught myself and I stood up and I'm like, oh, I didn't eat shit. And I turned around and I just was in enough time to get Malcolm up on that sand dune and then running over there. And when I got over to him and he hopped off the bike, it was pandemonium. It was like a tornado until well after he came off and popped the bottle. I mean, that to be there, I will never ever ever forget that moment. That was single-handedly the raddest moment I've seen in my short career doing this. I think this is my 26th race I've done in the last 2 years, and that was hands down the raddest thing I've seen. It'll be hard to top that. Tomac would have to win the title this year to top that. It was badass. I was glad I was there. That was a long flight from Orange County, California to Tampa, Florida, but yeah, I was glad I was there.
Yeah, mate, well said. Must have been so cool being there in person. Special, unforgettable night, mate. And you'll be cranking those fishing reports up with him for sure. You're giving him the week off because that's some good value you have with some of those guys. Obviously, the awkward moments with the Lawrence brothers mechanics, the fishing report. There's some cool stuff you guys are doing, and the fans absolutely love it, don't they? And the
Yeah, I mean,
riders.
hey, we're media, but our media is I try to get rad race clips, just angles and stuff that people don't see, and like a little mini versions of I don't know. My inspiration is like Moto Triple X and Crusty Demons of Dirt, right? Just those cool little edits with music to them and shots. I'm sure you saw that shot I got of Sexton coming past his mechanic, and then right behind him is Mookie's mechanic just going, "Come on!" That shit was sick. Dude, that stuff's badass, and TV doesn't always capture that. TV's got different types of cameras. They don't have the depth of field we do. They're always shooting wide and from far away, so you don't get the sense of speed from the television cameras that you get from what we do. And to me, that is why we're allowed there, is because we bring such a viral view of the sport out there. There's one gentleman who always quotes an older guy from back in the day that said our images are the currency of the sport, and they really are, because people, as soon as the race is over, what do? You go to the Instagram or you go to Facebook or whatever your poison is, and you're looking for those viral shots from down on the floor and on the inside and behind the podium. So that's what I try to bring in. And then I ask questions about the racing, but that's not my job. I mean, how am I going to compete with Anton and or Ping, if Ping's there, or Anton or Jace McAlpin? That's those guys in his wheelhouse, right? I'm over here going, duh, so what gear were you in when you were like going through the whoops, man? Oh, fuck, I sound like a goddamn idiot. So I just like try to be me and have fun with them, dude. And so like the fishing report, I know Malcolm likes that. It's funny as shit, dude. I had him laughing his way off camera at the last one we did, and I'm really bummed that Chase is out and Christian's not going to be there, and sounds like they're evaluating Hunter, and Cameron might not be there either with Hunter this weekend. But the awkward moment is just funny. I've got such a good rapport with those dudes, and those dudes are so funny, and they're so integral to the sport. The mechanics are, and so it's cool to show that kind of stuff. I wish I could get RJ Hampshire's mechanic on, but he'd probably get fired, and I'd probably get my credential yanked, because he's a little special. I'll just put it that way. But dude, there's just so many characters out there, and Feld and them, they do a great job of showing the real good stuff, but there's just a million storylines, and they can't all be shown. And that's what I'm trying to show, is the behind the scenes stuff, the funny stuff, because I'm a royal smart ass. Ping's a smart ass. So that's our wheelhouse, right? We're just, we're kind of special in that, right? And just having fun, dude. I'm not, trying to be the in-depth journalist. That's I'm not Lewis or Lindsay or any of those guys. That's not who I'm trying to be or ever will be. Nor am I Posty or Tom when it comes to filming. I just kind of I just kind of opened the door and pushed some shit out of the way and said, "This is my niche," and they tolerate me, so I'm happy. Yay me.
No, you're crushing it, mate. And obviously, you did get some good questions in the press conference too, mate. So you're leveling up, mate. Don't worry about that. So, but yeah, it's a cool ecosystem of journalists, different colleagues you have, and I guess I have too in some way, because we all know them pretty well, a lot of them. So yeah, it's a cool framework the sport's covered from, isn't it, mate? There's so many different angles seen through different people's lenses, so it all enhances the coverage of the sport, and that's what Feld's trying to do. And they obviously appreciate it. It's a big effort for people to get to the races. Like, it was a huge trip for most of those blokes that were there on the weekend, wasn't it? A lot of them coming from California. So respect to you
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, I mean the Star Race team and RJ and Malcolm, they were loving it, but everybody else had a pretty long journey. So yeah, it's fun to do. It takes a lot out of you, but I'm looking for my what I'm going to do when I'm older, and when my body says, "Hey, you're not going to do the oil and mining anymore," which I hopefully have another decade of doing, but I better find something to do. My wife will throw me out of the house. I'll drive her up the damn wall. So those poor bastards at the races get to put up with me on the weekends, I guess. But yeah, the whole thing's it's amazing how it all works. I wish it'd be fun to kind of put a documentary together of like showing up, watching them put the dirt on the field, watching them load in, watching all the race teams show up and set up, the media people show up and set up, just everything. If you could really see the whole take on everything that it is behind putting that together and then breaking it down. It's mind-boggling, dude. It reminds me of the oil industry. They're mini turnarounds. They go in, they set up, do a job, execute, break down, and move on to the next. But they do it all within a week, right? And in the refining business, we do it in a couple weeks to a couple months to a couple years, depending on the magnitude of the project. But so there's a lot of familiarity in there for me. But I think it would be really rad for fans to see it. I still consider myself a fan first and foremost, and I'd like to see it. I just don't know if I'm the guy to film it. So if somebody else out there who's a documentary guy wants to do it, there's a good idea. I think it'd be sick.
Yeah, man, cool stuff. There's good crossover and symmetry between both your jobs there, mate. It's awesome. And I guess back to the racing and tell us about Sexton's night. Obviously had a commanding lead, got the whole shot, and usually when that happens, it's he can either win or he can let it slip. And sadly, it was the latter on this one. Obviously, the whoops were getting really nasty by the time he went down in them, but he started so well, and I guess it'll be a head scratcher for him because obviously the crowd factor and the pressure from Mookie that was sort of obviously on his mind, I would imagine. But yeah.
There was a lot of sections he wasn't doing. I know Villeman had pointed out that he wasn't doing the table on off. He was, and then he wasn't tripling into the whoops. And I think a lot of guys were looking at that track like, this is what I'm giving this track, and this is what I mean, that track was gnarly, So I think it was kind of like, I could probably do it, but is the juice worth the squeeze, And so Chase rode his race and he did it smart. He still came out the points leader. At the end of the day, he still got the red plate. Did he get the win? No. I like to think he took one for the team when he went down. And, AP got his win last year, and Mookie got his win this year. So all is right in the world as far as I'm concerned. I've said that before, that we need Malcolm to get his win. Chase, would have probably, or rather probably that Malcolm got second, but I mean, hey, it is what it is. But I don't know. I Chase just, you could see his lap times even going by the lead. I was going through all my footage last night, and for like 3 laps, I was trying to get that shot of the pit boards, and he had like 4 minutes, and then it just kept dwindling down, and I'm like, oh man, dude, Malcolm's going to catch him. And so that's why I stayed with it. I was like, okay, and then bam, I got my shot. And then I ran over to the finish line, and I was going to go around to the whoops, but I thought I would miss him. And damn, I wish I would have made it over for that shot where he made the pass when Chase crashed. Luckily got up and he was okay. But the whole thing, I don't know. I'm just, trying to download and process it and talk about it. It's just, there was a lot there. And I think Chase just, I don't know what happened in that whoops. If you looked at everybody, I guess what I'm trying to say is everybody that went through those whoops struggled. Look what it did to Pierce Brown. But I went back and watched footage all day yesterday flying home, and everybody, I don't care, before Tomac got hurt, just everybody danced side to side through those whoops at some point or another, and all at the end. Those last 3 or 4 whoops is where everybody was bucking. That's where Pierce ultimately bought the farm. That's where Chase went down. A bunch of people flew off during qualifying. I don't know if they got it on TV, but Colt Nichols went mock Jesus off the end of one, shot past the berm in the net, and flew into the tunnel. And had anybody been standing there, they would have been weeded. But he just locked them up and slid in there. But that end of that whoop section was just, boy, they were praying as they were going through there. Just, come on, baby, couple more. All right, turn. Yeah, and then that sand section, that thing was lovely. But yeah, I think Chase just the racing bit him. It just is what it was.
Yeah, that's really good insight, mate. You saw JT on the broadcast mentioning the whoops, those last few especially, how they weren't at the same heights and they were just inconsistent. So that's really difficult for the riders to sort of do on the fly. And it was actually just ridiculous seeing Mookie going through them. The speed and the commitment he had was just incredible. And I think he even jumped them in the last lap just to make sure nothing happened. But yeah, that was the difference maker, the whoops for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And somebody had said, I think it was also Villeman made the comment of, hey, he came in with more speed, a gear taller at half throttle. The bike just kind of, instead of throttling through him, he was going faster, but he wasn't on the power. So the bike was kind of doing its thing, a little bit better. And a lot of guys were powering through. And if that bike kicks at all and you're on throttle, it's adios, amigo. You're going for a ride. And, you know, I didn't hear Jason say anything about those last three whoops being lower heights, but yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's what I saw in my footage was everybody was coming into those and getting sketchy, and and during qualifying, Hardy Munoz he went for a ride up into the netting, and poor Faulkner came through, and Munoz just said, "Hey, Austin, let's hang out." Slaps him off the bike. Faulkner had a hell of a day. Got the flu, got punted off his bike by Munoz. Took a soil sample out of that sand corner. I mean, he actually shared that video I made of him with that song "You Have a Bad Day." I was like, let's see if Austin has a good sense of humor. I'm either getting blocked or he's going to find it funny. Thank God he found it funny, but. I would love to see him come back and get a real good result in Detroit. He won there last time he was there. Hopefully, he shakes that flu bug and gets down, because now he's got a bone to pick, dude.
Yeah, it's such good racing, mate. It's so crazy. That track is just hopefully the next round's a bit more smooth sailing, mate, But obviously we've got to talk on Cooper Webb. Tough start, but he rode really well again, even though he was a bit frustrated with the final finish. But he's in a great position now, well and truly in the hunt, where he wants to be. He's kind of got those guys where he wants to be there, and heading to a place like Detroit, you'd imagine he's going to be absolutely dialed, can turn down, plays to his strengths, and you can just never write him off. He's kind of looking like the last man standing at this point. He's keeping it consistent. He's in prime position for that title push. You knew he was going to be in contention, but yeah, looking good for Cooper Webb, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, him 5 points out. If I was Chase Sexton, I'd be shitting a brick right about now. That is the last dude you want 5 points off your rear end in a Supercross chase, especially starting to get into the middle of the season here. That's a dangerous place for Cooper Webb to be for any of your competition.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And obviously, anything you'd like to touch on the 450s. Jay Coop getting fourth is good. He was just jumping those whoops, keeping things consistent. Obviously, we touched on Tomac, Hunter Lawrence. Shout out to Joey and Shane getting seventh and ninth on that quad lock Honda team. Really excellent, mate. But yeah, you can touch on any of them. And then sad news about Pierce Brown, mate, breaking the T5 vertebrae. Wish him all the best for his recovery. Really sad. It's a long road, I'm sure, for him now, but he was riding so well. So it was really disappointing and sad to see for him, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, I just it was brutal, dude. It was really, really brutal. Yeah, hey, one thing I want to touch on. I've got a video. I'm going to drop it later today. I caught that heat race start and I actually got a good shot of Oldenburg coming in
Mm.
and hitting Roxon and knocking him off the bike. And so he comes in, and the back side of his bike starts to kick out to his left, and he comes into to Roxon and knocks Ken off the bike, and then I guess Ken chewed the
Benny.
7 foot. Yeah, Benny, old Jack and the Beanstalk, chewed his ass out. He's like, "What did I do, man? I'm just over here riding laps, man. Why are you yelling at me, bro?" And Oldenburg's the one who knocked him over, but he, I think he went really hard on that guy, and it was just a racing incident. What did you think of that?
Yeah, it looked like it was really not much Oldenburg could do, really. He was trying to sort of get over as far as he could, and they kind of just came together. It's not like there was any intent in that, was there? So it's a little bit, I'm sure Ken would watch that back and think that was probably unjustified and
Well, he ain't
unwarranted.
gonna watch
Heat
our
of the
video,
moment.
but he won't be watching our video. But when you see it, you'll see that Oldenburg came in hot, and Ken was coming in and already slowed down to make the turn, and I think Oldenburg came in hot and didn't anticipate Ken coming in and hit him. But I don't think it was anything dirty or stupid. It was just racing. So I'd like to see what your thoughts are on that when we talk next week, and let me know what you think. But that was another little interesting thing that I saw there.
Yeah, mate, well said. And obviously, yeah, we'll touch back again on Pierce Brown. And obviously, interesting night for the star guys, the highs and the lows of the sport, mate. Obviously, Anstey and Bennett going 1-2, and really impressive by Anstey. Obviously, he's so experienced. He's raced all over the world. He just knows how to keep that level head, mate, and his skills are so good. Full pre-season on that Star Racing Yamaha after joining the team last year. So, yeah, consistent. You can't really say much more. Super impressive and really cool to see Daxton getting second there, mate. Wasn't it? Had a lot of question marks about him heading in after a bit of a rough end to last year. Obviously, had the highs and the lows of the sport, but yeah, really impressive stuff for those guys, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about Pierce at the end, but Bennett, that was cool. I mean, uh, East Opener, he's got a good track record. Third in Detroit last year, and then this East Opener second. So does he win next year? Let's see. Let's hope. I like the kid. He's super cool. Hasn't got a whole lot of attention. Didn't have the greatest year last year other than his podium, but I was filming him the other day and he came out the track. I go, dude, that kid has gained a lot of muscle mass inside. He's not a scrawny beanpole kid that he was when he got on to Star. He's starting to fill out, and that dude's going to be a big kid. They better get him on a 450 quick, or that bike's going to be struggling under him. He's tall and he's starting to fill out, so you could just see it in his riding that he's just getting a lot faster and a lot stronger. Kid's cool as shit. He's funny as hell. He came off the bike. I got a video. He said, "Dude, my arms are pumped up, man. I'm cooked, dude." He's just hilarious, dude. Just teenage kid living the dream, factory factory racing, pretty sick, dude. I was stoked for the kid. And Anstey, damn Brits and Aussies are kicking the shit out of us over here, man. Y'all need to calm the hell down. But yeah, the only thing I got to say about Anstey is trim down your damn podium speeches, man. You're gonna have skeletons down below you one of these days. He's gonna get done speaking. There's gonna be dead bodies because they just died of starvation. He goes so long. But I'm just playing. I love the guy. I think he's great for this. I think he's great for the sport. He's a great dude and a great racer, and good for him.
Yeah, well said, mate. Yeah, he's a great asset to the sport, someone like that. He just has, he's got a lot to share and he's a great personality. And you look back, say, 18 months ago, caught up with him at the Newcastle Supercross in Australia just after he won that event. He went on to win that series, had the World Supercross success. And, you fast forward to now and he's winning another main event on the Star Racing bike, mate. It's just awesome that at that age he just kept pushing, kept grinding, switched the focus to Supercross. And he's been rewarded for all that hard work and effort and all those team issues he had a few years ago, mate. So awesome to see. And on to PC, Kawasaki now, mate. Obviously, bit of an interesting season they've had so far. A lot of injuries, a lot of adversity, and then you heard the news about McAdoo. Obviously, that got released. I think the ACL, and he's a brave man riding with it, mate. But what an effort by him! Absolute valiant as, super brave, tough as. Massive respect to him. Obviously, he said it's not sustainable to keep pushing through that, but to get through Supercross, that's the aim. It's a bit clunky. It must be painful. You saw him limping afterwards, but cool for him and Hammaker to get third and fourth. And they had a good battle with each other, but they keep it clean and they respect each other. Super determined guys, and wish them all the success after so much tough times in the past too.
Yeah. I was gonna bring up Hammaker, fastest qualifier in the first section. First section, I think he was fifth in the second one, and then fourth overall in the night. Yeah, boy, couldn't be happier for him. He's got new Jacob out there. He's his mechanic from last year is now his practice mechanic and by choice. And so we got new Jacob out there, another guy named Jacob helping him. So that was a kind of a new dynamic. And I'm like, man, let's see how this works out because your mechanic is a part of your racing effort here, right? And so he didn't seem to skip a beat. He was fast and racy, and he's training in the dog pound with Jet and Hunter. So it definitely showed. So I look for big things out of Seth this year. I mean, a fourth, I'd say he's right in the title hunt. Um, Cameron McAdoo, dude, utmost respect for him. I talked to him a little before the race and on Friday, and talked to him after the press conference. Just kind of walking out with him and his wife and a couple of the Cowie PR people, and I was like, kind of watching him walk, and I go, "How is it? Is it really swollen up?" And, yeah, he's got some typical things you would think would happen with an ACL, but the fact that he was still riding at that level, that fast, and that committed, we've all seen him ride through pain, and that dude is he he's just wow. What do you say about him other than he's a freaking savage and good on him, and thank God him and Seth did so good. Kitchen, I don't, he ate it in that off that sand wall, and I called it earlier in the day on Friday during track walk. I said this thing's going to collect people off this lip, because it was, that lip didn't show it on TV, but from the top of that lip down to the bottom was over 6 foot. It was a pretty good drop off, and it bit him. That's where Kenny got clotheslined and whatever. But you know, him and RJ had probably, besides Pierce Brown, had the shittiest race. I mean, Triumph, the AMA needs to find the Triumph tub blocks, man. Those things need to be penalized. They caused all kinds of hell. They took out RJ's bike. I mean, I was like, what the hell is the beanbag beating the shit out of RJ and his bike in this corner for? That was just, I mean, they flipped it upside down. It was break dancing and shit. I'm like, oh God, dude, get that thing off of his bike. And then it took out when Kenny was walking off the track. The cameraman, trips right over the freaking Triumph tough block. I'm like, Triumph's over here going, ah, shit, man. No, maybe a few little less tough blocks in key areas next week. At least flip them over. Only
Uh,
flip them up when the TV's coming and the start. I don't know, but just being a little bit of a smart ass there, but. I was happy for Faulkner to make it through the night. I thought that was really, really good. Just happy that he survived the night. I know we kind of talked on that, and then uh, Mumford rode really good. Cullen Park rode real good. Hymas is still kind of racing back from injury, and he admitted that in his post race press con or in his press conference on Friday that, hey, I'm just racing my way back in. So he made it through. Voland looked really good. I guess he had a incident with a bike part during the main event that put him out, but Max looked really good. I actually talked to him and his dad on the way home at the airport yesterday, and man, he looks happy and he's riding good. And one of the things I noticed about him at the race that I really, really liked is he's landing on the throttle. I think that's a technique I haven't seen guys do in a while. I see RJ do it quite a bit, but a lot of guys, they kind of land off a jump and cruise into the corner, and Max will actually accelerate the second his tire touches into the corner, even if it's only 15 feet. And it's like, man, if you add that up, how much faster is his lap times going to be once he gets comfortable and gets going good? So that'd be cool to see. But Pierce Brown, dude, that was rough. I was standing down right where the triple was coming into the whoop section. Was working my way down from where he crashed in that segment filming. And hindsight being 2020, I was glad I wasn't there filming it. I don't think I would have posted that one because that was pretty ugly. I don't really like posting guys eating shit and getting hurt. But if they crash and get up and walk away, then that's one thing. But if they get hauled off on a gurney, that's not something I really want to partake in. But I followed who was behind him. It was Benica was behind, or no, it was Anstey was behind him, wasn't he? Yeah, and so I wasn't filming. I just kind of followed, and I saw him going, and then he just right, and then I just see him cartwheel. And I was standing with Tom, and I go, "Dude, did he just crash?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's Pierce Brown just crashed." I'm like, "Ah, shit!" So we all start walking down there. Well, the red flags come out. I'm like, "Oh no!" And when we went there, he was just face down with his like left hip kind of up in the air, but he wasn't moving at all, and he was just laying in that gully. So we all kind of stood there for a minute, and they shoot us off because they needed to get the buggy in there. It was like, oh, dude, this is all bad, dude. He wasn't moving, and got word yesterday morning, early in the morning, that he had broke his back and he was gonna be having surgery that day, but did not know if he lost feeling. Didn't want to ask. It was just like, oh shit. So it was just kind of one of those, okay, I know, but keep quiet kind of things. It's not my place to say. We just gotta let the family and Feld make the release when they get the info. And thank goodness it came out, hey, I had surgery on T5 and I'm getting back to racing. So that obviously means the prognosis is good. Myself, I broke my back 25 years ago, burst fractured my first lumbar and fused from T12 to L2 with a couple of cubic centimeters of bone in my hip, and I should have been in a wheelchair. I had a dog leg in my spine, and the doctor couldn't believe that I wasn't paralyzed, and I'd lost feeling for the first couple of days. It would come and go. It was the scariest couple of days of my life. But so I know what Pierce is going through. I don't know how severe the injury was, but I know what it's like, and I know what the recovery's like, and where he had it is pretty high up in his thoracic spine, so it's probably going to affect those little bit of rotational ability up that high. But I'd say in 6 months, as good a shape as that kid is in, and I was about his age when I got hurt, and I was nowhere near the athlete he is, or even considered an athlete. And I went back to work in 6 months, so I'd imagine in probably 6 months we'll see him out there shredding and doing his thing, as long as everything takes and he doesn't have any complications in his recovery. And I mean, working out and getting back in shape isn't going to be a problem for a guy like that. So yeah, I think about 6 months. I was actually super relieved when I heard that he had spine surgery and that he was getting back to racing. Like, okay, cool, it's over with, it's done now. Every day it gets better every day from here on out for the guy. So we're just going to see him in 6 months. And it sucks though, because man, he looked sharp, dude. He looked ready to rip somebody's arm off at that press conference, and he was riding as such. And racing's just cruel sometimes. So
That's gnarly, mate. Obviously, what you went through as well, that's so brutal as well. And yeah, long road to recovery. A lot of these guys, Hawkins had a massive one. There's a lot of dudes dealing with some seriously bad injuries, mate. So we wish them all the best for their recovery. And any final thoughts on the 250s or 450s, mate, before we wrap this one up? Obviously, plenty of impressive performances. But yeah, you mentioned Cullen Park getting seventh, Vial fifth. Heimer sixth, obviously just fresh off that arm pump surgery and battling back to where he wants to be. Thrasher eighth, good to see him back out there too. He's had his fair share of injury problems, just like Mumford getting 10th. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty crazy night of racing, mate. Hopefully next weekend's all about the racing, no injuries, and just yeah, far less eventful, really, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, just hope everybody makes it out of there in one piece. I hope Cameron keeps it in his pants, and we can come out of Detroit and want with some good news for everybody, and just a good night of solid race, and just everybody comes in the way they or goes out the way they came in would be really, really nice.
Yeah, well said, mate. Just quickly, the week ahead for you and Whiskey Throttle, obviously crushing the content, being there in person, doing awesome work, some cool podcasts, heaps of stuff to look forward to, both from Whiskey Throttle and Live Motocross. So what's the week looking like ahead for Detroit, mate? It's another probably pretty big trip for you, mate, but you're pumped on it, no doubt.
Yeah, it's only halfway across the country this time, so it's not that bad to get to Detroit. So it's just gonna be cold as shit. That place, oh, this time of year is brutal. There's no pits, no fan fest. It's just get into the stadium and stay in the stadium, and that place is just cold. It's that tunnel going down into that floor is like a wind tunnel, so I'm dreading that. I got to go buy a willy warmer or something, man. I don't freeze my balls off. But otherwise, yeah, not much. Just kind of chilling this week. I've got a lot of stuff I'm prepping for the refinery stuff, and that's about it.
Nah, all the best, mate. You're flat out. And yeah, thank you again for joining us on these podcasts. It's awesome to get your insight from being there at the races. And yeah, we look forward to chatting to you next week for sure, mate. But before we wrap this one up, thank you to the sponsors in Fly Racing, 24MX, Dirt Store, and Phil Sukaline for all their incredible support, as without them, none else be possible. All right, Jeff, look after yourself. Travel safe to Detroit. We'll catch up next week, mate.
All right, brother.